The challenge, I think, for Trump right now is that he's dug himself in too deep. In order to get out of it, he's going to need a patsy. Someone's got to get thrown under the bus, and the expectation is going to be Pam Bondi.
Mm-hmm. I think he's been very clear that he's supporting it. I think, no, but this is a way out. If they do something like this, it's like, let's get it all out there.
Yeah, but saying, I don't want your support.
Yeah, that was
bad. If he were to come out in next week and say, I've been made aware that Pam Bondi had withheld information, leading me to make incorrect conclusions, and for this, we will immediately be taking action and terminating her, blah, blah, blah. Maybe.
I don't get any sense that
I don't think he'll do it. But I don't know how he recovers from saying, I don't want your support.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people who will say, then you can never have it later. The challenge.
So that was one of MAGA's biggest podcasters, Tim Pool, one of the biggest right-wing podcasters in the world. I actually went on a show with a friend of our show, Luke Beasley, back in January to debate issues about Trump. And he is panicking about Donald Trump publicly attacking his base. He's terrified that this will cost Trump in the midterms and probably the Republicans in 2028. And we actually have to dive into this because it's all related, of course, to Trump's mishandling of the Epstein files. And of course, there's also implications and questions about what Pam Bondi's future is in the Trump administration. And we actually have a lot to discuss on all of those fronts. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, so let's start with Pam Bondi, okay? Pam Bondi, of course, is Trump's attorney general. She is everything Merrick Garland is not: unprincipled, ruthless, partisanly motivated, and also quick, right? I mean, listen, is Merrick Garland smarter than her, more principled than her? Yes. A better attorney general in the vacuum of civilization? Yes, but Pam Bondi's a Rottweiler. Now, fortunately for us, her ruthlessness is only exceeded by the fact that she is a colossal moron, right? So thank God she's not more competent. Her approval rating is not going well amidst the Epstein controversy, as Newsweek reports, because she's being scapegoated by MAGA, by Laura Loomer, by even Tim Pool, right? You know, Tim Pool is criticizing Trump directly here, unlike a lot of other MAGA conservatives, but he's basically teeing it up. Hey, Trump, if you're watching, you know, blame it on Pam Bondi and shit can her, fire her, you know? And there's polling which indicates that MAGA seeking to scapegoat Bondi has worked to undermine her support. Public approval of Attorney General Pam Bondi has dropped off amid the Jeffrey Epstein controversy, according to a new Atlas Intel poll that shows fewer than 30% of Americans now view her favorably. Okay, so less than 30%. That's pretty bad. Okay, now Atlas is actually one of, if not the, if I remember correctly, the most accurate pollster individually of the 2024 election. So if any individual pollster comes to you and says, hey, your polling is shit, you don't want it to be Atlas, because odds are, at least based on the most recent election, they're the most accurate. It's not just Laura Loomer, and it's not just Tim Pool, and it's not just even the polls. You also have prominent Republican lawmakers who feel comfortable saying, yeah, Bondi's really shit the bed on this, and, you know, I normally don't criticize people, but maybe she's got to go.
Do you trust Pam Bondi to be the one to make the call on what is credible, what is right, what is safe, what should be put out there?
Well, I was saying it's not how you start, it's how you finish. If she finishes strong, then I would trust her. In the past, I didn't think that things that she had done were I won't say appropriate. I just don't think they were as efficient as they could. The white binders that they gave out was pretty much information everybody already had. I think she took some bad advice on that. She might not have even known. She might not have followed it, say, like you and I would, or had been. So, and remember, she was... the president brought her in pretty quick after the failed attempt of putting somebody else in there, and they confirmed her very fast. So I suspect the learning curve was very steep. So yeah, I'm disappointed in her. I've been disappointed in her, but that's the process. And generally, you don't speak out against somebody in your own party. But generally, I haven't really followed those rules. I don't. If I'm unhappy with somebody, I just say it.
Tim Burchett is unusual among Republican lawmakers. I mean, he's still MAGA in the end, and he's still an idiot in a lot of ways. But yeah, that's him throwing Pam Bondi under the bus. And again, now she reports to Donald Trump. So any decision she makes, Donald Trump has moral culpability for, or should, right? Because she reports to him and the buck stops with him. But again, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're pissed. They're upset. They don't like how this is being handled, but they don't have the stones to go after Trump directly. Again, with the exception of, believe it or not, again, Tim Pool, give credit where it's due. Tim Pool is one of the few who's willing to call out Trump by name for the screw up. So is it possible, given all these particulars, that Trump will throw Pam Bondi under the bus? It is possible, but so far he has doubled down on his support of her, perhaps because she's such a devout loyalist to him, and he's worried about having a more competent attorney general in that position who might be inclined to, say, follow the Constitution instead of Donald Trump, right? So you run the risk if you replace Bondi. Now let's get to the other part, which is, Tim is really concerned that Donald Trump's comments about Jeffrey Epstein will alienate his base. Hey, these people got you elected. You're insulting them. It's not good. And indeed, intuitively, it's not good. And we saw some backlash on Truth Social when Trump gave that unhinged comment where he called them stupid and weaklings and says he didn't want their support. Remember, we did a video on it, and then he doubled down on it in the Oval Office, right, on camera. But as I noted at the time, even though I was taking great delight in people calling Trump out, that Truth Social post was not ratioed, that more people on Truth Social liked the post attacking MAGA than they did dislike it, which was kind of ominous, right? And I noted at the time, this might mean that the more cultish elements of MAGA, which were briefly tested during the Epstein debacle, that Trump attacking them directly was somehow triggering the more cultish elements, and that they would actually double down on their support of him. And the initial polling, unfortunately, folks, indicates that MAGA is indeed a full-blown fucking cult. And Harry Enton from CNN will explain how.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approval of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Now, there's an additional 1.5 minutes of this, and we're not going to play the whole thing because I don't want to drag this out for forever. But here's actually what's going on here. CBS has a poll out about this, which really helps provide it, of course. When I dragged it over this screen, I blew it up. Okay, so let's take a look here. First and foremost, let's be clear. Donald Trump is not only unpopular, he's increasingly unpopular. So if you look at his job rating, like right now, his approval rating, he's at 42% approval. He is unpopular objectively. A decisive majority do not approve of Trump, and his numbers are decreasing, okay? But here's where the Epstein situation comes in. When it comes to matters a lot in your evaluation of Trump's presidency, 61% of respondents say this matters a lot. Inflation and prices, 56% say it matters a lot. One Big Beautiful Bill Act says 56% say it matters a lot. But the Epstein case, only 36% of Americans say this matters a lot in the grand scheme of things. So, for all the week's punditry, the matter over the Epstein files isn't affecting Trump's overall approval among his MAGA base. For one thing, Republicans and MAGA like his handling of immigration, especially, and say they gauge him on that more. So, if you look at the Epstein particulars, it's not good for Trump. Trump is not polling well on Epstein. It's just that to MAGA and Republicans, it's a relatively low salience issue. So, should DOJ release all its information regarding the Epstein case? Basically 90%, a staggering supermajority. You don't get these numbers. They say it should, and only 11% say should not. But the Epstein case doesn't compare in importance. So if you look, the Trump handling of matters related to the Epstein case, it's split 50-50. And for Republicans on Trump, as cultish as they are, that's terrible for Trump. That is atrocious for Trump. That's devastating. 50-50. 50% of MAGA are like, nah, I'm not happy with this. Okay. Look at the independents. It's pretty bad. 83% are dissatisfied. 92% of Democrats. Okay. So independents and Democrats are mostly on the same page. Trump is really screwing this up. And even half of MAGA is like, yeah, you're not handling this well. Trump administration handling of matters related to the Epstein case. MAGA Republicans, 60% of them are satisfied. Non-MAGA Republicans, only 40%. 40% of MAGA Republicans are dissatisfied, and 60% of non-MAGA Republicans are satisfied. So again, substantial chunks of MAGA, or rather the Republican base, are not happy about this. And again, think about this. Only 60% of MAGA are happy with how Trump's handling this. 40% are willing to say dissatisfied. Again, overall, this is a terrible issue for Trump. But this is the key part. In evaluating Trump's presidency, Epstein case matters. Only 11% of Republicans say a lot. 1 in 10 say this matters a lot. Trump is handling this terribly, but it's not a big deal. That is why his numbers are holding and even increasing with MAGA. As I put on Twitter, polling consensus seems to be most Americans and a lot of Republicans think Trump fucked up the Epstein files, but most Republicans don't care that he fucked up. They still love the car, even if they think the car's color is ugly. Yep, don't like it, not good, but mind small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Which is stunning when you consider how much MAGA used to complain about the Epstein files. Now, but I wanted to show a couple of things here from the CBS poll, if I can bring it up here, which is Trump's danger and why Tim Pool might ultimately be right in the end isn't the threat from MAGA. It's from independents, right? Because Trump didn't just win with Republicans. He certainly didn't win with just MAGA Republicans, and even Republicans in their aggregate aren't enough to tip Trump over into victory. They have to court independents. And independents, if you look at the polling, they're not happy with Trump's handling of this in staggering numbers, and numbers much more approaching the Democrats than the Republicans. And independents, if you look at Trump's overall approval rating, again, a decisive majority say Trump is just not doing well, period. They disapprove in decisive majorities, independents, of Trump, not just on Epstein, but his overall approval rating. So my point is, Tim Pool doesn't probably have to worry much about the MAGA base leaving Trump over this, even if he insults them to their face, because it's a cult. We now have our evidence. The evidence is in, at least so far. MAGA is doubling down on its cultishness. It is literally, you can insult me to my face. You can call me weak and stupid. You can verbally abuse me, and I will still vote for you loyally and faithfully, and I will praise you for various reasons. But independents, many of whom supported Trump in this last election, they are pissed, and Trump is in serious jeopardy, not just on the Epstein situation, but on most other issues as well. He's underwater on pretty much everything with independents. And that's what could screw Republicans up, not only in the midterms, but in the 2028 presidential election. So, Tim Pool, I guess, in the whole, has good reason to be afraid. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.